NATO is no longer obsolete, says Trump, because it is fighting terrorism, and you can thank me for that. President Donald Trump said Wednesday after a meeting with the NATO Secretary General that he no longer believes the alliance is obsolete. The about-face came as the U.S. Secretary of State was returning from Russia, where Trump said he got the sense things went pretty well despite the fact that the relationship between the two countries is at an all-time low. Right now we're not getting along with Russia at all. But we're going to see what happens, Trump said at a press conference in the White House's East Room with the NATO Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg. The president had repeatedly called NATO obsolete during his campaign for the White House. He said he had spoken with Stoltenberg about what more it could do to fight terrorism, which he said it had not done in the past. I complained about that a long time ago and they made a change, he said. Now they do fight terrorism. I said it was obsolete. It's no longer obsolete. But he did not back down on his demand that other NATO members pay more. Each is supposed to spend a minimum of 2% of their gross domestic product, or GDP, on defense. If other countries pay their fair share instead of relying on the United States to make up the difference, we will all be much more secure, and our partnership will be made that much stronger, he said. He also asked about money coming back, suggesting that those who had not paid the 2% in the past should pay up now. Money that hasn't been paid in years, that money coming back, we will be talking about that, he said. Among the countries which have not spent 2% are Germany, Europe's largest economy, whose forces are now being used to bolster NATO's presence along its eastern border, which includes a land border between Poland and Putin's Russia. The press conference was dominated by the mounting crisis with Russia, with relations not improved at all by a meeting between the Secretary of State and Vladimir Putin. Trump said he'd be talking to Rex Tillerson soon about his meeting today with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin met with Tillerson on the fly as tensions mounted between the two countries. Tillerson said at a news conference just before Trump's that the U.S. was at a low point in its relations with Putin's government. Putin made a similar point earlier in the day, as Tillerson sat down to a meeting with the Russian foreign minister. Russia has aggressively pushed back on the Trump administration's assertions that Syria's dictator gassed his country's civilians last week in horrific attack that claimed 87 lives. At a joint news conference with Tillerson today, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian diplomat, demanded an independent investigation. We do not wish to speculate, he said. We want to establish the truth, the full truth. Despite the bickering in the press conference in Moscow, the American president stated, I am hearing things went pretty well, maybe better than anticipated. It would be wonderful, as we were discussing just a little while ago, if NATO and our country could get along with Russia. Right now we're not getting along with Russia at all. We may be at an all-time low in terms of relationship with Russia. Trump went on to call Russia a strong country, but said the U.S. was very, very strong, as well. We're a very, very strong country, he added. We'll see how that all works out. He also called on allies to work together to resolve the disaster in Syria and thanked them for condemning Assad's suspected sarin attack in Khan Sheikhan. Vicious slaughter of innocent civilians with chemical weapons, including the barbaric killing of small and helpless children and babies, must be forcefully rejected by any nation that values human life, Trump said. That's a butcher. That's a butcher. So I felt we had to do something about it. I have absolutely no doubt we did the right thing, and it was very, very successfully done, he added. It is time to end this brutal civil war, defeat terrorists and allow refugees to return home. Trump's comments came shortly after Russia vetoed a UN Security Council resolution that would have compelled Damascus to cooperate with an investigation of the attack. Trump said it was certainly possible that Russia President Vladimir Putin knew about the attack, blamed on Assad, indicating Russian officials were present at the Source air base, which Trump later bombed. I would like to think that they didn't know, but certainly they could have. They were there. So we'll find out, he said. Defense Secretary James Mattis and a Pentagon group are looking into it, he said. When you get into the gases, especially that form, it was vicious and violent, and everybody in this room saw it all too many times over the last 3 or 4 days. Young children dying, babies dying, fathers holding children in their arms that were dead children. There can't be a worse sight, and it shouldn't be allowed, Trump stated. The president said the ghastly sight was the work of a butcher, Assad, and he was compelled to act. I have absolutely no doubt we did the right thing, and it was very, very successfully done, as you well know.